It was a crisp autumn morning, the kind that makes you feel alive. The air was cool and refreshing, a perfect start to what seemed like an ordinary day. The sun glinted off the East River, casting a golden hue that danced on the water's surface. It was a serene and beautiful sight, a moment of calm before the storm. At JFK Airport, families hugged goodbye. American Airlines Flight 587 was ready to depart. The aircraft stood poised on the tarmac, a symbol of modern engineering and human ambition. Its destination, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. A routine flight. A familiar route for many of the passengers, who were looking forward to reuniting with loved ones or enjoying a well-deserved vacation. But within minutes, this ordinary journey would transform into an unimaginable tragedy. The passengers settled in, unaware of the fate that awaited them. The sky was a canvas of blue, a perfect backdrop for the flight. It seemed like an ideal day for flying, with no hint of the disaster that was about to unfold. Passengers settled into their seats, some reading, others chatting, and a few dozing off. The cabin crew went through their routine checks, ensuring everything was in order. The Airbus A300 taxied down the runway, its engines roaring to life. The anticipation of takeoff filled the cabin, a mix of excitement and routine for frequent flyers. It lifted gracefully into the air, ascending towards the heavens. The ground below grew smaller and the cityscape of New York began to fade from view. It was November 12, 2001, a date that would soon be etched into the memories of many. Just 2 months after 9/11, the city was still raw, still healing from the wounds of that fateful day. The scars were fresh and the pain was palpable. The city was still raw, still healing. Memorials and tributes were a common sight, a constant reminder of the lives lost and the resilience of those who remained. Little did they know, another wound was about to be torn open. The events that would soon unfold would leave an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of all who witnessed them. The routine flight was about to become a chapter in history, a story of loss, heroism, and the fragility of life. For many Dominicans living in New York, Flight 587 was more than just a flight. It was a lifeline, a connection to family, friends, and culture. The Dominican Republic, with its sun-drenched beaches and vibrant spirit, beckoned. It was a place of joy, a refuge from the daily grind. Every seat on Flight 587 was filled. Families returning home, businessmen on their way to meetings, grandmothers eager to embrace loved ones. They carried hopes, dreams, and the promise of a brighter future. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. The first few minutes of the flight were uneventful. The plane climbed steadily, piercing through the morning mist. Passengers settled into their seats, some reading, others dozing off, unaware of the drama unfolding in the cockpit. The hum of the engines was a lullaby, a constant soothing sound that promised a smooth journey ahead. But in the cockpit, there was a palpable tension. The pilots exchanged glances, their faces betraying a hint of concern. The pilots were aware of the turbulent wake of a Japan Airlines Boeing 747 that had taken off just ahead of them. This massive aircraft had disturbed the air, leaving a trail of turbulence in its wake. Captain Sten Molen, a veteran pilot with years of experience, gripped the controls firmly. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing, calculating the best way to navigate through the disturbed air. He knew the importance of navigating this turbulence with care. The slightest miscalculation could lead to a dangerous situation. He had no reason to believe this flight would be any different from countless others he had flown. His confidence was a source of reassurance for the crew and passengers alike. But as the plane entered the wake turbulence, a series of violent jolts shook the aircraft. The passengers were jolted awake, their calm shattered by the sudden, unexpected turbulence. The cabin crew hurried to reassure them, but the tension was palpable. Captain Molin's experience was now being put to the ultimate test. The plane bucked and swayed. Passengers clutched their armrests, fear etched on their faces. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. The cabin crew, trained for emergencies, struggled to maintain calm. In the cockpit, alarms blared. Captain Moline fought to regain control. He wrestled with the controls. The Airbus A300, known for its stability, was being pushed to its limits, but the turbulence was relentless. It was like an invisible hand shaking the plane violently. Suddenly, a deafening boom echoed through the cabin. The plane lurched violently to the right. The vertical stabilizer, the massive fin at the tail, had snapped off. It ripped away from the fuselage. It spiraled down towards the earth. Without its tail, the plane was doomed. It entered an uncontrollable spin. It plunged towards the earth. There was nothing anyone could do. No time for goodbyes. No time for prayers. Just the terrifying realization that their time was up. The crash sent shockwaves through New York City. Just 2 months after 9/11, the city was once again draped in grief. The streets fell silent. The familiar roar of planes overhead was replaced by the chilling sound of sirens. In Bell Harbor, Queens, where the plane crashed, homes were reduced to rubble. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of jet fuel. First responders, many of whom had witnessed the horrors of 9/11, were met with another scene of unimaginable devastation. The nation mourned. The world watched in disbelief. How could this happen? How could another plane fall out of the sky? The National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, launched a full-scale investigation. They were determined to find answers. Every piece of wreckage was meticulously collected. The black boxes containing the flight data and cockpit voice recordings were recovered. Investigators interviewed witnesses, they analyzed radar data, they pored over maintenance records. The pressure was immense. The world needed to know what went wrong. Section 8, A Fatal Flaw, The Perils of Pilot Training. The investigation revealed a series of contributing factors. The wake turbulence from the Japan Airlines flight played a role, but the NTSB uncovered a more disturbing truth. The pilot's excessive use of the rudder pedals in response to the wake turbulence was the primary cause of the crash. Captain Molin's aggressive rudder inputs, coupled with the Airbus A300's sensitive rudder system, created forces that tore the tail fin from the plane. The investigation highlighted a critical flaw in pilot training. Pilots were not adequately trained on the dangers of overusing the rudder at low altitudes. Section 9, A Legacy of Change, Safer Skies, Heavy Hearts. The legacy of Flight 587 is one of profound sadness, but also of crucial change. The tragedy left an indelible mark on the hearts of those who lost loved ones, and it resonated deeply within the aviation community. The NTSB's findings led to sweeping reforms in aviation safety. Their thorough investigation uncovered critical flaws and areas needing improvement, prompting immediate action. Pilot training programs were overhauled. New protocols and procedures were introduced to ensure that pilots were better prepared for unexpected situations. New emphasis was placed on recognizing and responding to wake turbulence. This phenomenon, which had been a contributing factor in the crash, became a focal point in training and safety measures. The Airbus A300's rudder system was redesigned. Engineers worked tirelessly to address the issues identified, ensuring that future flights would not face the same risks. The crash of Flight 587 was a wake-up call. It highlighted the need for constant vigilance and improvement in aviation safety standards. It forced the aviation industry to confront its vulnerabilities. Leaders and experts came together to discuss and implement changes that would prevent such a tragedy from happening again. It led to a renewed commitment to safety. Every aspect of aviation, from ground operations to in-flight procedures, was scrutinized and improved. While nothing can erase the pain of that day, the changes implemented in the aftermath have made the skies safer for everyone. The legacy of Flight 587 serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of safety and the continuous efforts required to protect lives in the skies. Section 10. Remembering the Victims, a community united in grief. In the years since the crash, the families of the victims have fought tirelessly to keep their memory alive. Memorials have been erected in both New York City and the Dominican Republic. Scholarships have been established in their names. Every year, on the anniversary of the crash, families gather to remember their loved ones. They share stories, they offer prayers, they find solace in each other's company. Their resilience is a testament to the enduring power of love and community. Section 11. Echoes of 9/11s. Trauma and resilience in the face of tragedy. The crash of Flight 587 was a tragedy compounded by its proximity to 9/11s. It reopened wounds that were just beginning to heal. It forced New Yorkers to confront their mortality once again. But in the face of unimaginable loss, the city showed its unwavering spirit. The crash of Flight 587, though overshadowed by the events of 9/11s, serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope endures. It reminds us of the importance of community, resilience, and the unwavering pursuit of a safer world.